I'd like to hear about your treating a situation that where you're immediately there. Is there an example of that you can talk about?
There's a couple of incidents that happened. There was one that was directly involved in, and I had to actually fire my own weapon. We were doing a reconnaissance or a patrol to make sure a road was safe, and it was a road right that goes along the Argonab River. So you got the river, you have the road, and then you had like a 5-6 feet drop for a long period of time, and all that on the other side had trees. So it was easy for them to go there, dig a hole, put an IED, and wait until a convoy passes by and make the IED explode. So we had to patrol that area fairly often. And I had my own rule that when I had troops on the ground, I was on the ground also. So, but I was in the least dangerous position. So in that case, I was near the river, and we had 2 other personnel doing there was 3, yes, there was 3 doing the patrol, and one of the soldiers near the trees saw the insurgents, so he fired.
How do you know they were insurgents?
Well, normally somebody that has a rocket launcher beside him is an enemy. So he figured that they were waiting for us. So he did shoot, and then the firefight started. But by the time that he looked and fired, he had kind of stopped. And for us looking around on the ground, I've moved forward a bit. And when the firefight started, I could see the bullets flying, but most of the bullets were flying and cutting me off from the rest of the vehicles. So I was stuck a little ahead, and the 4 of us were firing, and the only thing I could see over there were muzzle flashes, so I was aiming at the muzzle flashes. And as soon as the firefight started, it probably, I don't know, it lasted maybe 30 seconds or maybe a minute, but it seemed a lot longer than that when you're there. But they started to fire with the turrets of the vehicles, and everybody went back, and I was stuck a little bit up front, and I could see the bullets, and I couldn't get up, but I could still fire. Luckily for me, most of them fire from the hip.
They fire from the hip?
Absolutely.
Why the hell did they do that?
I don't know. But they're not very good shot. So I got lucky on that one. So they were hitting the road instead of me, and I was firing back at the muzzle flashes. And when the firing started to die down, then I got to get up and go back with the battle group. And as in any case, we just moved forward to get out of the killing field, and then we turned around and went back to find them out.
And they were injured?
Absolutely. There was 3 injured, and I had to take care of them.
Enemy,
one by one. And yes.
Tell me what you do.
It's a little different sometimes than from training, but I did on one patient, I did cover up a big wound on the chest, then had to decompress the wound because the air was filling up the cavity for the lungs, so the lung was collapsing, and there was a lot of bleeding. So it's really fast emergency treatments that we did over there. So we got him out, then found one that had a bullet in the leg, and it hit the artery. So the way we found this out is I stuck a finger down the hole, and I could feel a pulse on my finger. So I knew he was bleeding for the femoral artery, so I put on a tourniquet on his leg.
Tight?
Really tight, so that there's no blood flowing. And on the third one, a lot of chest decompressions. He was hit 3 times in the chest.
You mean trying to start his heart?
No, decompressions is we insert a needle on top of the chest to let the air escape, because if you have a wound, the air goes inside the wound and fills the cavity when you breathe instead of going into the lung. So you fill the cavity of the lung with air coming from the outside, and it pushes on your lung. So the lung collapses, gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then since you don't have a lung to breathe, basically you don't get the oxygen to your brain. So to resolve this, you kind of patch them up, and then if you see that it's too far back, you stick a needle in, and it lets the air go out because it has a valve on it, so the air can come out but not come in.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Did these guys, all three of those injuries sound really severe?
Yes, they were severe.
What happened to them then?
Two of them did not make it, just because it's difficult over there. It's different. It's not. We couldn't get helicopters in as fast as we wanted to evacuate because there was still dangers of firefights. We don't have an ambulance, so we tried to keep him alive as long as we could. And so the one that we managed to save, there was one. So
The femoral artery guy?
yes, that was pretty easier to treat. The other one, because the last victim with the 3 chest wound, he was already in the late stages, and I tried the best I could, but being also far away and having to transport him by foot into a very difficult terrain to bring him back, it took too much time, and we couldn't actually get an evacuation quick enough.
Did you carry him?
We carried him, 3-person.
When you approach an enemy who's been wounded, do you not have to check and make sure that he's not booby-trapped or that he's not, hiding a grenade under him or something?
Absolutely. Normally, I'm not the first one to find him. We do check that person off first to see if there's anything wrong with him, if he have a grenade or bomb strapped to them. It becomes second nature to do it. That's why we don't really talk about it. So yeah, they're frisked. They take the weapons off, and then we start to treat the person.
Were they the guy with the femoral artery wound was probably conscious? Was he? What was in his eyes when he saw you coming over to treat him?
I don't know. I can't really say for sure what he was thinking. I know I was thinking, but how to stop it, and you're angry at the same time because that person tried to kill you, but it's part of my job to save him too, and I think that in the end, it's better that way anyway for me, for my because for my own mind, my own sanity, that I helped him anyway, so I'm better.
Yeah.
But that's in my head, right? To put some sense to all that chaos, because it is chaos.